Good evening, everybody. This is episode 27 of our Let's Play series in Space Engineers Survival, version 1.190.1. Um, I've spent some time between episodes. Like I mentioned, I was going to do mining resources, getting down to the cobalt vein in the asteroid about 30 clicks away from our current home asteroid here, um, where we finally found uranium. So we've got enough cobalt now that we should be able to complete our refineries and our assembler here in space. I also queued up some components to build for a battery to attach to that assembly if I can orient myself and find where I put it. It's around here somewhere. There it is. Excuse me. For a battery and for a connector, which I guess I will put. I feel like wherever I put it, I'm going to end up moving it at some point. I'm going to put the battery in between the refineries. Probably up at this end because I need to leave room for an upgrade there. And I guess I'll put the connector up here. I do want to put some large cargo containers on here eventually, but I will probably put those on the other side, or I'll move the connector. We shall see. My inventory now has gravel and cobalt in it because we have so many resources in here that we are legitimately running out of space. So you'll notice that my inventory is completely full, and my inventories on the um, the station and the ship are also completely full, with the exception of the basic refinery inventory, which is not completely full. And the reason why it's not completely full is because I wanted to do some science here as far as figuring out uh, just how much yield we get from the basic refinery, because I want to then compare that to the full refinery, and obviously we need to use the basic refinery at least some to get our metal grids built. Excuse me. Mm. So first thing I'm going to do though is I'm going to clear up some inventory space in here if I can. How can I do that? I can put this gravel in here, and then I can use the space that I freed up to pull out these steel plates, and that will allow this to continue. I could have done that earlier. Should have done that earlier. In any case, now that we've got these steel plates here, looks like we're lagging. Oh, no, I'm in the ship. And I am in the ship with all the engines and stuff on. Need to stop that. We need to turn off the gyro and the engines. So we want to go ahead and come up here and place our battery. And how do I want that oriented? Again, I don't think it necessarily matters. I don't really want to have to move the batteries because I lose the power cells when I do that, but whatever, this is fine. So then we'll throw all of our bits for that in there. And then we will slap a connector on here. That's not the connector. And I predictably forgot to start timing again. So yeah, throw the connector on there. A lot of people, when they're doing recording, they'll have two screens, and so they can actually see their OBS interface and their game at the same time and know how long their video is. I'm playing on just a single monitor. It's a big monitor, but it's just a single monitor, so I don't know unless I time it. Anyway, started putting the resources in for that stuff. So now we'll do our science here. First, I want to find the basic refinery. I want to turn the conveyor system off because I don't want anything coming into it that I didn't put into it. And I'll turn it on. It will go through the stone that I left in there real quick. And then I will put exactly 100 pieces of cobalt ore. And it's not exactly quick. It looks like it's dumping it all out, which is kind of obnoxious. Now, it's pulling it into the assembler. So turning the conveyor system off is not entirely helpful in that regard, but we know how much we need. It's 1 cobalt ingot per metal grid exactly. So we need 50 altogether, but I can work out how much we get from this based on what's left over and how many metal grids we managed to complete. Anyway, while we're waiting for that to complete, we can pull out some more of our steel plates here and construction components and stuff and build up the parts that we're working on. So that's just power cells now. That's just lots of stuff now. You know what, I'm going to jump in here just because it allows me to recharge stuff. There's that done. Now it won't be powered until the battery's done. But I am going to go ahead and access this because I want to make sure that we're configured as a station. We're not. Okay, well that's good to know. Excuse me. So we can go ahead and convert this to a station because it's better for performance and stuff. And also won't move when we attach the ship to it. So we want that to be a station. We will rename it our space refinery. No, space industry. Because we've got the assembler on here as well. So space industry is a little bit more accurate. Inventory, the connector is the only thing that's actually functional because everything else is incomplete. Rename the refinery. There's your refinery 1. You can see that the power input is higher than the basic refinery. The assembler power input is also higher than the basic assembler. All that is fine. Always getting disoriented here. Okay, so we managed to make just 20. Yeah, we managed to make just 20. So this must not be. I'm not sure why this isn't completing now. It says it's missing items, but it's kind of not. I guess it doesn't quite give you a full cobalt ingot. But anyway, we started with 100 kilograms of cobalt ore. We ended up with 20 metal grids and I guess just under 1 cobalt ingot. So that's about 21% yield is what that works out to. Anyway, so 21%, that's the number to beat. And that will be enough metal grids to complete one of our refineries. So if we do get a better yield, we'll want to make sure that we do the remaining cobalt in that refinery rather than in the other ones. And we are going to need at least 10 more grids to do what we need to do as far as getting the assembler put together, because we need the full assembler to do the superconductors, to do the yield modules. And I would kind of like to do that before I go any further with refining cobalt and stuff, because we get a much better yield from having those yield modules attached than from doing it without it. So there's our battery. We are now powered. I will want to charge this, but we will eventually be able to attach a reactor onto all this. And I'll probably stick the reactor on that conveyor port so that the uranium can refine in here and feed directly into the reactor. So this is powered now. So we want our 20 metal grids, and that should be everything. Yeah, looks like that's everything. We are also going to grab another 100 kilograms of cobalt, because we're going to stick that in the refinery that we complete in order to test that. Now I want to do this one, because I don't think that the conveyor ports work in incomplete components. So if I finish that one, the conveyor wouldn't feed through from the connector. So there's our metal grids put in. There's our refinery completed. And we'll come up here to our conveyor access, and we will stick exactly 100 kilograms of cobalt ore in this one. While that's working, I'm going to try and sort out my inventory a little bit more in here again and start moving things out of here if possible, at least move as much cobalt out of the ship as possible. First, I'm going to turn off this refinery because I don't want it to be doing anything with the cobalt that I stick in there. I would want to just use it for cargo storage right now. And I think I will turn this off as well, because I'm pretty sure, yeah, we've done all the components that we need for what we're working on right now. So that's power off there. Our engines are still running, but they're not outputting anything because everything's being run off of this battery and the solar panel. And we are underutilizing our solar panel right now, despite the fact that it's not oriented very well. 20 kilowatts is very low output for a solar panel. Anyway, now that that's done, we should be able to move ore into the refinery, and it won't actually do anything. It'll just be stored there. So we want it out of the cockpit. We want it out of the medium cargo container. We've got room in the connector also. We want it out of the connector, the colonizer connector. Stick what we can in there. And we want it out of the drill. That's not all of it. That's probably not all of it either. But that we can store on us, and that won't get sucked in if it's on us. Okay, so if we only show the inventories of the current ship, I probably should have done that in the first place. Well, no, I shouldn't have, because then I wouldn't have been able to move it out. Okay, so perfect. We're only getting stuff now. Excuse me. We're only getting stuff now that is on our current ship, and we have no cobalt in here at all. And we've got a decent amount of resources, and I think we still have some resources, stored on the module if we need anything for that purpose. So we will go ahead and turn our power back on to our gyro and our engines. We will turn off the connector and lift off. I'm not sure why that was happening, but it's working now. We will want to go back and check and make sure I didn't break anything there, because it looked like I might have. Where is it? Always losing it. I'm going to put a bookmark just so I know which direction to spin to find it. And I'm going to use third person here for a second to both help me find it and to make sure I don't bump into the module while I'm spinning here. So this will ensure that we have enough power on here for one, because that battery is going to last for a little while, but it's not infinite. It's only at 25%, a little less now. It'll also add on cargo space, although it'll start burning through our ice to do that. Well, it won't because we're not actually running the O2 generators, but it will burn through our hydrogen anyway. You can see we're down to 87% hydrogen. Get our docking toolbar up here so that we can access the camera. See it coming into view. Now our hydrogen engines alone will not be enough to power everything that we've got here. Because between the two of them, they generate 1 megawatt, and it takes 1.12 megawatts to run even one refinery in the assemblers, or in the assembler, I should say. Turn our connector back on. But we do have the battery, so the battery will be able to cover some of the gaps and recharge when it's not actually active. Because that power consumption is for when it's actually doing something, otherwise it's only 1 kilowatt. Give it a little bit to settle, and then lock ourselves on. So now we are locked onto our refinery complex instead of being locked onto the mobile construction module. So we can see how this inventory is doing. So we got 30% even there. That's definitely better. So 100 ingots turned into 30 ingots in here, whereas it only turned into 21 in the other refinery. So clearly the full refinery is better. At this point, we'll go ahead and dump what well, no, I think I do still want to wait if I can, because I want to put the yield modules on. We might have to do some of it just to clear out our inventory space, but for the time being, I don't. So I'm going to go ahead and grab those ingots, and I'm going to transfer them over manually to the mobile construction module in order to do some more metal grids. And that should actually be enough to finish the metal grids that we need to do both refineries and the assembler. So we'll stick those in here. And we will turn the basic assembler back on. And it will continue construction because it's still got 30 metal grids queued up. That will be enough to finish the assembler. And then this will be enough to finish the other refinery as well. There's the assembler done, and there's the other refinery done. Now the power drain there is real when they're all running, but they're not, and for a while they probably will not be. Let's check and see what our power is looking like here. So we are fully recharged in 2 hours based on the amount of power being generated by our hydrogen engines. But those are actually running at full tilt now because they're charging, and they can't provide enough power to max out the battery's input. So you can see that our hydrogen is going down fairly precipitously. For that reason, I'm going to go ahead and turn on both of our generators, which will further increase our power consumption and slow down our recharging actually a little bit. And we will fairly quickly run out of ice here, but that's all right. That's what it's for. So the next thing that we want to do, well, first of all, let's take a look at our expanded options now here with this full-on assembler. So one thing that we've got is we've got cooperative mode as a possibility. Now we don't want to do that with the primary assembler, but on all of the remaining assemblers that we build and attach onto this, we can turn them into cooperative mode. And this primary assembler will kind of farm out some of its construction tasks to those other assemblers. So that's something we've got. We've also got these two additional screens here where we can actually pick entire blocks and it will make everything that we need for those blocks instead of just doing, one component at a time. So that's useful. Small grid blocks and large grid blocks. And the main reason why we were worried about this is because we've got more options here. We've got missile containers, we've got Gatling gun ammo, we've got we already had medical components as an option. We've got gravity components, we've got reactor components, thruster components, and superconductors. All that stuff is new. And in particular, we're interested in superconductors because we need those to build the yield modules. We also need reactor components because we need those to build nuclear reactors, obviously. And we will eventually be interested in thruster components so that we can expand this particular grid into being a large grid ship that is able to move around, because we need a fair amount of thruster components, if I remember correctly, for a large grid ion thruster. Yeah, we need 10.67 platinum ingots for one ion thruster, and one thruster component takes 0.13 platinum ingots. So unless there's other pieces in there that take platinum, which I don't think there are, I'm pretty sure thruster components are actually the only thing you ever build that requires platinum. Oh, no, the missiles do also. But there's no missile containers in the thruster components. I'm fairly certain of that. And there's no platinum there. There is gold in the gravity components as well as in the superconductors and in the thruster components. And silver is required for the reactor components. And we also finally have a use for all that gravel. Although even with 6.67 ingots of gravel being used for each reactor component, I still think we're going to have trouble using it all. Excuse me. That is something I would consider doing a mod for, is something that would make that gravel useful somehow. If anybody has any suggestions on that front, I wouldn't mind listening. Also, I miss this explosives, which is useful for making warheads, and I think that is actually required for something else, but I'm not sure what. Anyway, so yeah, the next thing we need to do if we're really going to be doing the yield modules next, I do want at least 4 of them so that I can get one of our refineries up to full yield. We're going to need these superconductors and probably a fair amount of them. So let's actually see what that's going to take. That's the speed module. That's the yield module. So we need 20 superconductors, which means we need 80 altogether for 4 of them. And that's going to be a healthy amount of gold. Okay, so 20 times 4 is 80. Lag. So we need 53.33 ingots of gold just to get us started here. Let's see what we've got in terms of inventory space and see how we can clean it out. The first thing we're going to want to do is move all of this stuff into the assembler, I guess, and the connector. So the assembler has 4,000 liters of space, unlike the basic assembler, which only had 2,000. So that will be helpful. And you know, we are kind of hacking the usefulness of this right now because this isn't really supposed to be a cargo container. It's supposed to be obviously for assembling things, but we're using it as a cargo container. Of course, there's nothing wrong with doing that, but it's not its intended purpose. Survival kit, you can see, only has 1,000 liters of space. We are going to make proper use of that. I am going to find these refineries and turn them both off because they don't need to be draining power for now. I will also turn the assembler off because until we get gold, we're not actually going to be building anything in here yet. I also do want to empty out the survival kit. How much room do we still have in the assembler? Enough. We can move everything out of the survival kit. We are almost out of ice. We're also going to want to get some magnesium so we can properly ammo these up. We can hold 4 of these altogether. We're only holding 2, and we don't have anything to spare. We've also got 2 guns that are completely empty, just because we didn't have the assembler to make them, first of all, so we've never bothered collecting the magnesium that we need to make them also. But that's something else that we'll want to do, but that's also going to wait behind gold so that we can get better yield out of the magnesium ore that we do pick up. Show only ship inventories. Got that little bit of ice, that ammo, and our hydrogen tank. I am going to go ahead and pull our hydrogen tank back out. Nope, I'm not going to do it that way because the cockpit doesn't have access. It's through small conveyor ports, and that doesn't work. I gotta go around here to grab that. And since I turned the refineries off, I will stop carrying around this cobalt ore and actually put it in one of the refineries. I don't actually want to run it yet though, because I want to put the yield module on it first. Alright, so that's our ship empty. There's nothing on our ship now, actually, at all. We've got some ice over on the mobile station, so I'm going to go over and pick that up. Because we have no ice, I'm going to turn our hydrogen generators off. I might have misspoken in a prior episode when I say that those take power no matter what. They only take power when they're actually functioning, but it doesn't matter how much they're functioning. So like if there's no ice whatsoever, there's no hydrogen being used and no hydrogen being made at all, then they won't take power then under those circumstances. But if there is any hydrogen at all being generated, they will take the full amount. So we're down to 60% now. Our battery is still recharging, I think, on here. Well, I mean, I know it's still recharging on here. It is still going to take 2 hours. We've got 1.01 megawatt hours out of 3, so it's still got a ways. But our power output is only 9.93 kilowatts, so it's going to take a while to actually drain. If I put this into discharge mode. Now this isn't going to be quite accurate because we've got some components on the ship that we're operating, so it's actually going to be more than that, but it's going to be 4 days before it runs out of power, so we're fine there. I'm not worried about that going anywhere, running out of power and needing to do some shenaniganry to get it operational again, because we're about to disconnect the power generation here. We're going to turn off our connector, and it was our hydrogen engines on this ship that was actually doing us any good in that power generation capacity. Now we're just using what's in the batteries. So lift ourselves off, back ourselves up, turn the connector back on. I was going to do a GPS marker, I forgot. We do want to just go ahead and dock ourselves up here because we want to transfer as much ice as we can off this station because it doesn't do anything here. There's no O2H2 generator on the mobile construction module, so it does us no good to have the ice on here. Whereas it does us all the good in the world to have it on here. So we want to retain some cargo space to store gold when we pick it up, but we want to have plenty of ice. We also want to go ahead and refill our hydrogen tank, and I'll grab extra ice. I'll grab more ice than I think I need so that we can do that while we're en route to the gold. We're almost out of time though for this episode, so I'll probably end up doing that off camera. I'll at least get the ice loaded up and pick a gold deposit to go visit, because we did find a couple of them over the course of our travels. But after that, you know, between the actual travel time and the actual mining of the gold ore, I'll go ahead and do that off camera. And when we come back next time, we'll have a decent amount of gold ore mined up that we can use to get those superconductors done and get those yield modules complete. I'm going to do the minimal amount of refining possible on the gold just so that I can use the yield modules to do most of it, and get a better yield, obviously. But I will have to do, you know, just enough to do at least 20 superconductors so I can get one yield module attached and kind of scale up that way. But I'll do all that on camera on the next episode. Like I said, for this episode in between, I'm just going to actually do the flying and the mining of the gold. And I'll turn the cameras back on, the recording back on at that point for the next episode. Almost there. Some lights on here wouldn't be misplaced. And lock. And power off the stuff. And did I turn the... Yeah, I turned the O2H2 generators off. Good. Alright, so get out of that. Get out of that. Let's see how our battery's doing here. It's mostly full. It's still recharging off of these hydrogen engines. Those are at 100% because all the hydrogen's coming from the hydrogen tank, which is down to 47% now. So what we want to do here is we want to find... No, I don't want to search for it because I want to be able to see where I'm moving it. Do I only have this? Is that all I've got? Is the 6.6? That's not much. I think that might be all I got. That's not very much. Huh, okay. Well, unless we have an ice deposit and a gold deposit on the same asteroid in the same kind of vicinity, I'll probably make a stop for ice somewhere first, because that's not very much ice, and that's kind of what's keeping us going here. But anyway, so we've moved all the ice that we've got onto the ship. Although I do actually want to go ahead. Well, I mean, it'll do it automatically when I turn the thing on, but I'll go ahead and load up what'll fit into the O2H2 generators. And then I will turn them both on. And then I will disconnect, turn our gyro and engines back on, lift ourselves off the platform, the module here. And okay, it's refilling. Come back in here into our GPS coordinate list. That one was the one that was within range of the salvage station, so I'm not going to go to that one regardless. That one's out of bounds. And it looks like I don't have any here that are sharing an asteroid with an ice deposit. The only one that was sharing, I think. Well, I'll go ahead and turn all these other ice ones on too. I know this one was the one that was in range. I don't remember know what the oh, that one was closer, but the problem was that I needed the large grid detector to find it. That's what that one was. So we'll turn these two on just to see if any of them happen to be in the same place. They just weren't close enough that I could do them both from the same location. All right. Yeah, so it looks like those are definitely in different places. We've got an ice 60 clicks away, and we've got a gold 42 clicks away, and a gold 22 clicks away. So I'll go back to that's another ice deposit over there. So I'll go back to the cobalt asteroid for more ice, because that's pretty close to this gold deposit here. So I'll go over there first, get some more ice so that we're plenty fueled up, and then I'll go over here and get more gold, or get gold, not more, don't have any yet, get gold, and head back here and start refining it. But that's all for next episode. Like I said, I'm going to do that in between, but we'll actually do the refining of the gold and the building of the um, yield modules and everything in the next episode. So thanks very much for watching. I appreciate it. Please subscribe to see what happens next. Likes, comments, and verbal abuse are appreciated. We'll see you next time. Thank you.